Since the release of Star Wars Visions, there have been plenty of fantastic episodes, and quite a few of them have since become fan favorites. And while there are some that might not have landed as well compared to the rest, there are those that fall solidly in the middle, considered to be not bad, but just okay. And judging by what I've seen online and the various fan reviews of each episode, Tatooine Rhapsody seems to fall well into this middling category. It's certainly not hard to see why it falls in between. After all, it is one of the episodes that features minimal fight scenes, no crazy lightsaber moments, or even any galactic bending twist that we have come to expect from the other episodes. What's more is that it features a family-friendly and at times cheesy take on what anime has to offer for the world of Star Wars. Not exactly what most of us would have expected from an art form that is known for its over-the-top action scenes. And yet, this is why I'd argue that it makes it one of the best episodes to come out of Visions, and dare I say, worthy to stand among the other beloved episodes such as the Duel and the Ninth Jedi. In fact, I would go as far as to say it's probably one of the episodes that really took the most risk and interpreted the Star Wars franchise beyond the conventional while keeping to its roots. Star Wars, for all its intents and purposes, follows a traditional story structure that can be best described as a call to adventure or the hero's journey. The structure of the hero's journey is a familiar one. The hero is at a static state before they are called into adventure, and it is during this time of adventure that they experience trials and tribulations before emerging stronger than before, or in some cases, in a worse place compared to where they first began. And each of these Visions episodes displays some element of that. Tatooine Rhapsody takes this narrative structure and slightly inverts it on its head. In the case of Tatooine Rhapsody, we find the main character Jay seemingly right in the middle of his adventure, amidst a battle between droids and clones. Clutching his lightsaber tightly, there is panic in his eyes as he runs from presumably separatist forces. But Jay's real call to adventure doesn't begin until he falls into the abyss, where at his lowest point he meets the strange rebellious Hutt by the name of Geezer. While Luke, Anakin, and Rey leave their respective worlds in search for their own greater destiny, Jay is a protagonist who is thrown unknowingly into his, beginning as a passive character unsure of his own place in the galaxy. And the transition is a violent one, finding himself under the shadow of a looming mysterious Hutt and the blaring noise of rock music in the background. He is faced with the penultimate question every hero must face on the hero's journey. What are you? Or to phrase it more succinctly, who are you? The scene then cuts and we move forward in time as Jay leaves the Clone Wars behind him and performs on stage alongside his new band. And the first words we hear from him on stage are, "You are okay," almost as if he is trying to reassure himself in his new role as a singer and not as a Jedi. But before we can get any sense of Jay's musical talents, the band is interrupted by none other than Boba Fett himself, hired by Jabba to bring in Geezer. As the capture attempt erupts into a scuffle, the rest of the band beat back Boba and Jabba's goons, and it is no coincidence that each band member uses their musical instruments to defend themselves. Geezer uses his flaming guitar, the drummer uses his drumsticks, and the droid uses its electric guitar to electrify its assailants. All except Jay, who, held at gunpoint, reaches for his lightsaber, a Jedi's weapon of choice, and far from that of a musician. It is clear that while Jay has been thrust into this new life of a traveling artist, he is far from comfortable with his new role. Despite the time in between the Clone Wars and now, Jay is still the fearful Padawan who fell into the abyss, holding on to his past as a Jedi and failing to commit to his present as a singer. The band make their hasty escape, and on their ship, the drummer makes a remark wishing that the band would one day complete a set, to which Jay agrees as he attempts to fix his broken microphone. This alludes to the reality that the band has had numerous past performances but never completed one, and while the performance this time was interrupted by Boba Fett and Jabba's goons, the band's inability to finish a set becomes clear once Jay's inner uncertainty is brought to the forefront. The band's inability to finish a set stems from Jay's inner turmoil of who he is. The Padawan that fell into the abyss, shaken and afraid, had never truly left that abyss. And it is this paralysis in Jay's character that renders the band incomplete, unable to finish a set without a true lead singer. The band's momentary reprieve is short-lived as Boba is once again right on their tail, forcing their ship to crash. Convincing the Hutt to come with him willingly, Jay steps up to Boba hoping to save his friend from the bounty hunter. Lightsaber in hand and facing off against the galaxy's greatest bounty hunter, Jay attempts to light his lightsaber only to find that it has fizzled out on him. After years of neglect and disrepair, the sacred weapon of the Jedi fails to ignite. Jay's attempt at reclaiming his past as a Jedi to save his friend has failed miserably. The creative decision for Jay's lightsaber to fail is a specific one, intent on showing a protagonist that is unable to reconcile with the duality of his place in the galaxy, that of a Jedi Padawan and that of a musician. Standing beneath the pouring rain, all Jay can do is watch helplessly as his friend is taken away. As Jay and the band attempt to reconcile with their loss, most of the band members seem to have come to terms with their fate, resigning to defeat at being unable to save their friend. It is here that Jay finally finds himself, where he might have once agreed and gone along with the resigned band members as a passive protagonist. V5's recording of his past experience with Geezer stirs something deep within the former Padawan. The shift within Jay's character is evident as the rain begins to dissipate. As light breaks through the heavy clouds, Jay finally comes to grips with who he is. He turns to the rest of the band and says, "In the end, we're just a band." At first glance, it may be a confusing statement to make, but upon reflection, Jay's proclamation is not meant to be dismissive, but definitive. He finally realizes that there is nothing else in his life except to be a part of this band, to be a musician, and that is something worth fighting for. It is in this moment that Jay finally becomes the active protagonist he was supposed to be and understands his place in the galaxy. But Jay's transformation is not complete, not until he journeys to the planet with twin suns, to Tatooine. Where Luke and Anakin have left Tatooine for transformation from farm boy to Jedi and slave to Dark Lord, Jay will only find his transformation from former Padawan to musician here, and his destiny will not be completed until he completes the band. Striking a deal with the notorious gangster himself, we find a Jay who is full of confidence, a Jay who has finally managed to crawl out of the dark abyss and into the warm sunlight of the two suns. As the band steps onto stage for one last performance, a Gamorrean guard grunts in protest at the lightsaber hanging on Jay's belt. Except the lightsaber is no longer a lightsaber. Jay reveals a lightsaber that is fixed but modified. Whereas Jay was once faced with a broken microphone and a broken lightsaber, he has managed to merge both together, able to reconcile the duality of his role in this galaxy. One could see this as Jay finally moving forward, leaving behind his Jedi past. And while this certainly may be the case, a more nuanced understanding of Jay's character shift is needed in order to fully grasp the symbolism of his new microphone/lightsaber. Instead, the microphone in his hand, once activated, emits the same noise of that of an ordinary lightsaber, almost as if to say that while Jay may no longer be a Jedi, and while he has now embraced his life as a musician, his Jedi past is still very much part of his identity. Reconciling with this duality and recognizing both for its importance moving forward. As the band steps forward to perform, we hear the same opening as we did earlier in the episode. As Jay belts on top of his lungs, "You are okay," there is a newfound confidence in his tone, no longer needing to assure himself of his newfound role, but rather openly declaring it, because for the first time on his journey, he is finally okay. and the assuredness excites the crowd, whereas it has previously provided a muted response, reaching across the planet and even into the quiet home of Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. It is during this song that the episode lays its core theme to bear, as Jay and the crowd sing, "Hey say, be yourself, hey say, free yourself." It becomes clear that Jay has done just that, embracing his new life of music, bringing clarity to his soul, being one with himself. And it is this conviction behind this message that ultimately convinces Jabba to spare him, where Luke would later use the weapon of a Jedi to save his friends from the gangster. Jay uses his mic instead. With the band finally complete and Jay's destiny finally realized, the episode is brought to a perfect close as the galaxy wavers rock on into the end credits. So where does this leave Tatooine Rhapsody? With an episode seemingly bringing full circle to Jay's story, is there even a possibility for more stories to tell surrounding the galaxy wavers? While the Ninth Jedi and other episodes get all the attention and demand for greater expansion, I would argue that Tatooine Rhapsody deserves equal chance for its full potential to be realized. There are a number of ways in which Jay's story could be expanded further. I'm particularly fond of the idea of exploring further the consequences of his choices to leave the Jedi Order in pursuit of music. Potentially, his decision to leave the Jedi Order before Order 66 occurs, only to learn of it later, would undoubtedly have an effect on his conscience. As a Jedi who abandoned the Order, Jay would not have been there to experience it or prevent the fall and death of his friends, potentially creating a sense of guilt within him for abandoning the fight for selfish pursuits, forcing him to take account for his own actions. Whatever the conclusion, I think that would be a story worth telling.